I got a little bit of a goof. Like my dad used to say, no one will know but the cockroaches. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. This surface, where's my hand, is straight across to here. I mean, it's off by just like a freaking tad, but that's not the point. There, it's a straight line, right? On this side, this is the hinge side. See what I did? This surface is a 90-degree angle to this, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a 90-degree angle to the surface on the inside. So technically I put this piece on the wrong way, but it's so minuscule, there's really doesn't really matter for anything other than I was thinking about putting a seal here, some kind of a seal that I would attach to the door that would rest on this when the door closed. So the door's coming off anyway, so maybe I will give this a little bit of a skim cut. Trouble is up here where we're even, and somehow it's correct. I don't know what's going on. Maybe because I might have used a block plane on this or something. I don't know. But I could take my pencil and put a little bit of a scribe line. Looks like there was a scribe line right there. Alright, to where I can knock off a little bit of that edge right there. Because this is, yeah, door's coming off anyway, because I got to paint it and I got to do the trim. I'm really struggling here this morning, trying to get motivated and know what the next thing is I'm going to work on. The day is gorgeous, so I really need to take advantage of it. I started to do this. I'm going to fill that with the putty, and I put this around here just so it'd be an easier cleanup, less sanding. The thickness of the tape, when I rub a putty knife across here, will leave just a tiny bit of a rise, and that stuff's not supposed to shrink, so that would give me just a tiny bit to sand off. I want to put the door stop on so I could cut the holes for the locks. I still got to enlarge this hole just a tad so this lock will sit flat. I guess I really ought to just pack it in and go to Lowe's, or go to Home Depot rather, and get the wood. I decided that I'm going to finally install the aluminum edging onto the door, and I've already taken the knobs out. I filed this hole open, so now this thing sits like it should. In the process of doing so, I'm seeing, when I was filing, I could hear that this has not adhered like I would have liked. I mentioned this a little while ago. So I'm definitely going to put the screws around this perimeter to help secure this edge, just so that nothing breaks free. My expectations for that epoxy were a little bit too high, I guess. So right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to divide up the spacing for where I'm going to put the screws, which I've decided to put screws in the edge of this to hold the edging on. I don't mind there being screws in it. I was just being stubborn, thinking that I would use Gorilla adhesive only, that stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and put the screws, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, the screws will help squeeze out the glue from underneath the surface, which as flat as this is right now, since I cut this on the table saw, there's not going to be any voids for places for the glue to go, so I'm going to have to put a very thin line of the adhesive. There, that's a little wet. Thin line of the construction adhesive on the edge. So I don't really want to rely on having that much of the Gorilla construction adhesive in there, is basically what I'm saying. And we'll have some construction adhesive on these faces. This will be mostly what's going to hold this edging in place. But so right now we're spacing out. I want to have a screw in the middle of these two, because logically it just seems like it would be about right. So we're about 3 feet from the end, so I'm going to experiment with 1 foot spacing or 11-inch spacing of my screws. So it'll just be 3 screws here. I'm going to divide out and see how that plays out on the other side. The bottom, it really doesn't matter how it looks. I'll just put 3 across the bottom, the same for the top, 3 across the top. And on the hinge side, it's going to be a whole nother spiel. Probably have 1 screw there, maybe 1 in the middle, 1 in the middle, 1 in the middle. Yeah, probably just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. Yeah. So the reason why I took this off now was to make sure that I had no holes or something like what I have here. So where I decide to put a screw, I'm not going to have any issues. But it's all a clear shot, so no issues there. Got the holes drilled. They're right in the middle, and the spacing is every 12 inches going that way and 11 5/8 of an inch going that way, just so that they would evenly divide out. I got a chance to use my milling machine, which is a joy, and what's great about that is the vise, once you set the position of the vise for the depth of where you want the hole, you just slide the material in and punch every hole one at a time. And I got my little jack sitting right there to help support the end. So this was easy work. The drill bit I used it's the size of the screw without the threads, pretty much. And this is the side with the pine. It's a hair smaller. Where's my dial indicator at? Let me show you what we got. Those are number drills. I got a little drill index with those guys in it right here. And it's really handy. It wasn't that much money. And not only does it have the fractional size tap drill information here, but all the number sizes also includes the size in decimal. So it makes it pretty easy to work. So what I did is I came over here. I mean, you can just eyeball this, but it's 130 thousandths for the screw. And I picked a drill bit that's just a shade under, so we'll have some tightness there. And so now what I'm going to do is put this back in place. And these guys here will locate us exactly where we were. And then I'm going to drill these holes up into the wood. And I might use my drill guide for that. Maybe I'll just do it by eye. Then once I've got the holes transferred, that will give me the hole in the wood exactly where it needs to be. And then I'm going to take this back off, put it back in the milling machine, and I'll run the countersink, which will be another really easy operation. Once I set the depth, the down depth, I can countersink each one without having to measure every time to get the right depth. How about that, huh? So the screws did exactly what I was hoping they would. They really pushed that up in there, and they got this piece to match the angle that I cut on there on the edge of the door. And it's quite a lot. It's significant. I can notice it now because this is like poking up here, and it's a lot significant, noticeable, whatever, right here. And I've got this much overhang all of a sudden. So I think I might have goofed the other day when I trimmed extra off the door here. It was probably not that the door needed it. It was probably that this needed to be forced on there. So this is forcing me now to go ahead and retest fit this door and make sure I don't have too much of a gap anywhere, because I might have to put some shims underneath these screws to make sure that I'm not pulling this in too far. I mean, that's at this point that's all I can do. So over here we're also a little bit beyond flush right there, and here we're not. So everything is doing what I've designed it to do. It's just that I may have kind of overshot trimming the top edge of that door. It was supposed to have fit. It should not have needed to be trimmed like I did. I was just getting kind of tired, and that's what happens. Okay, we're good. It's freaking perfect. All right. So what we got to do is just trim that piece of aluminum. I guess I forgot that I had left that little bit of edge on there. I don't know. So we're ready to. That's the top, the bottom, and this side are all ready to glue in place. Well, it seems like it's taking forever to get this done. So I got all the screws in this on the edge, and it sucked it in really nicely. I tweaked these hinges a little bit and expanded this gap just a tiny bit, and it tightened up this side just a tiny bit. It's fine. This is a little fatter, and I'm okay with that. So we just got done putting all the screws in this thing. Well, all the holes. There's one screw right here and one at the top for now. And now I'm getting ready. You can see I got some pencil marks here. I already did that for the top and the bottom extremes of the pin there and the pin here. And now I'm getting ready to measure the depth. See if I can do this here. We're going to get this right there. So it's 815 thousandths. Just double check what we're doing this here on the bottom side. I know I'm not doing a good job of video on this thing, but I just couldn't do it with one hand. Sorry about that. So it's 0.790 from the surface to the top of that bolt, and 0.800 from the surface to the top of that bolt. So you know, it's 10 thousandths difference. It's basically the same. So now I can swing the door open and position the plate where it needs to go, and drive some screws and bore my holes and get all that stuff finished. We're making progress. So we're 800 thousandths of an inch, give or take a few. And I got one screw set, and it came out exactly right, which is not always that easy to do. What I'm using to do that is my drill pilot. I just made this one. I'm fortunate to have a lathe, so it's just an old bolt that I cut a piece off of, drilled a hole in it the size of the bit that I'm using. Then I put the taper on it. Oopsie. So I can hold that up to the hole and then push the drill through, and it gets me right on the spot. So I'm gonna, yes, I know I got this on here backwards. That's just because that's the only way I can get it on there right now, because this thing has to be cut. But I'm starting with the holes and getting this thing screwed on, so now I can trace a pattern exactly where it needs to go. Baby steps. All right, so I got this board off so I can work on it in here. So this is going to be easy. The doorknob kit came with this little plastic guard that goes behind here, so that seals off the hole. The bolt lock didn't come with anything, so I'm not really sure what I want to do. I made this thing. Oops. But it's a little bit on the big side. I guess I could use that. Make a round hole and sink it. And then here's my little metal thing. Then when I put this on the top of it, pretty much seals up the hole. Okay, I guess I'll use this thing. Alright. I'm going to do that. Drilling this will be easy. I'm sure that's some kind of odd frickin' size. Here's my clapper. The little woman mowed the grass, so now I got all this stuff that was sitting on the mower. So it's 1 inch. You know what? I could mill that down to 1 inch, or turn that down to 1 inch. Then I could use a 1 inch bit and be done with it. Alright, that's what we're going to do. Then all I got to do is... Awesome. Then I got to do is just figure out the length of it. Hey, look at there. I got lucky on that one. Because we got to... I think what I'll probably do is just drill a pilot hole. Why did I come out here? Oh. Yeah, I'm getting tired. So I can cut off some of this. No sense in it being that long. Alright. 6 o'clock. I can't see anymore. So I want to show you what I've got done. Alright. So freaking weather. Okay. I got the striker plate in for the doorknob, and we're flush, and it was not that bad. I got a little bit of a rise right there. I might work on that. Hit it with a hammer. Maybe it's just the corner. I countersunk the plate to a larger, the number 10 screws that I have. These things go all the way past this and into this thing here. So, you know, right? And this guy here is that piece of PVC pipe that I made into a little pocket to seal this hole up. I'm not going to push it all the way in there because it might get stuck, but I can go like that and I can still get it out. But let me show you how well it works. All right, get all of that thing up there. Sorry about all that. So, all right, there. We're flush. I mean, very, very flush. I can't let go. And all right, let me go ahead and show you what I'm doing here. in order to get the door open, since I don't have the doorknob on. Alright, so I don't know if y'all know how these things work, but this little device here, this I don't know, pin, is a locking device. If that is depressed, you can't push this one in. See the difference? And that's the way it's designed to work for security, so no one can pick your lock by just pushing that thing, you know, putting something in here and going around the back of the, whatever you call the thing. So when this door closes, all right, it only is going as far to let the big bolt go in. And now we're flush here. If I go in a little deeper, now they're both in, and you can see we're not flush. So what that comes down to now, the only thing we're missing is our door stop. And now I can install the door stop because I can push the door up against this guy, right? And that's, you know, from the back side, that's how tight I'm going to want the door stop. So let me show you how well this guy goes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this with one hand. Gosh, maybe I can use a hand and a foot. Oh, I know. Hold on. So we're going to push this door in just until right there. I've been using these pieces of tapered, they're cedar shingles. Okay, so now simulate locking the door. It doesn't touch anything, so it's going to be nice. And let's just double check something. How much? Yeah, okay. That's perfect. It's a great day.